What's up, guys? Welcome to another speed build. I hope you are all having a great day, and I hope you had a great weekend as well. Today we are over in Willow Creek, and I am building a gardener's dream home using only the base game and one of the very new kits that we just got last week. I'm sure you guys have already guessed which kit I am using in this build because of the title, the nature of the build, but also I believe one of them was build by items and then the other one was create a sim. It was like a makeup glam sort of kit, and that one I haven't had a chance to actually, explore too much yet, but I'm sure there's a lot of great makeup items to use now. But I did in fact have time to explore the Grange Mudroom kit, and this kit is absolutely beautiful. I love the items in this kit and I can see myself using them all the time. And I am so happy about that, to be honest. And I think what makes this one so good is the fact that it was actually created by a fellow simmer. And if I am not mistaken, I believe I seen that their name was Peacemaker. I have not heard of them myself. I don't use a lot of CC, as you guys could probably already tell. But I know they are probably very popular if their items look anywhere close to these kit items here in the Grange Mudroom kit. These items are so cute. I love them so much. As soon as I seen this kit was out, I was like, oh, I gotta get it, I guess. I am $5 poor because I have got to get this kit because it is so cute and I can see myself using it literally all the time. So yeah, with all of that being said, I'm sure it's safe to say that I had a lot of fun building with this kit. And since, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, by the way, Grange Mudroom, not grunge, obviously, there's not a U there, but Grange, that just doesn't sound right to me. So yeah, let me know down in the comments. I know you guys probably will, but yeah, I have never heard of the word Grange, I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, I live under a rock, I guess. But the kit itself, nevertheless, is super cute, and at least there's the word mudroom in there, so I kind of knew what it was about before I actually seen the items. So I've been excited about this pack before I even seen the items, to be honest. Because I love to build mudrooms in The Sims, especially for like gardeners or like farmers, ranchers, whatever, whoever works outside a lot, a mudroom would be perfect for them. So as soon as I got this kit, I'm like, okay, I'm making a gardener's dream house, aka a gardener suburban, because that's what I do best, guys. I don't know what to say. But with that being said, I do think this build turned out super cute, and I think I did say in the beginning, but just in case I didn't, this is using only the new kit and base game. So if you have those two items, you'll be able to download this no problem. And honestly, if you have only base game, technically you could download this too, because a lot of the mudroom kit items I did in the mudroom. I used some of them throughout the house, but it's mainly just in this side area right here where I have the side door. That is the mudroom, and that is where I placed most of these new items. So going into this build, I knew I wanted a few things. I knew I wanted to find a lot that had a corner to it because I wanted to add a side door. I just love adding side doors. It feels realistic and makes sense for a mudroom anyways. And I love the way that it looks where you have like a sidewalk leading from the front door to like the front sidewalk, but also having a sidewalk from the side door to the side sidewalk. I just think that gives it such like a cute and realistic and homey look to it, and like perfect for a gardener's house. And I also knew, I probably don't have to say this part, but I knew I wanted to use the new kit, obviously. But other than that, I was pretty much open. Oh, and I knew I wanted to add a greenhouse. So there is a greenhouse in the back here too. I only furnished that like way at the end. That's the very last thing I furnish. But it came out pretty cute. It's like a typical greenhouse that I usually do. This isn't the first time I've done a greenhouse, so I typically have like a certain way of doing it, and I stick to that, to be honest. Especially when you're using only the base game or like a one-pack limited build and you have limited items, I can only put so much in there. But I do like to make them as functional as possible. So yeah, I mean, those were the only stipulations I gave myself before I started this build. I was pretty open for everything else that I did here. I didn't really want to add a pool. I thought, I would just do like a huge garden instead, but this backyard turned out so big that I kind of had to add a pool, to be honest. I didn't know what else to really do. I already have a greenhouse. They already have like several planter boxes in the backyard already. And I don't know, guys, I don't like to leave a huge yard in The Sims without like having something there. It just looks super unfinished to me. I know, like, a lot of people, they like to have like a good open yard, and I get it if you have like horses or, that's really the only thing I can think of that I don't mind having a lot of open space on, because, horses, they need space to run. The dogs don't really, in The Sims, really need a yard to run in like they do in real life. They kind of just run everywhere. They can run in the street, to be honest. And the cars will just go right through them. But yeah, so that is pretty much why I decided to add a pool. Plus, I mean, pools are always useful in The Sims for like exercise or just having a fun pool party or whatever the case may be. Having a pool is always nice in The Sims. And like I said, the main thing was just the fact that the yard turned out so big, and I could have done like a huge garden, but you guys will see half the yard is the garden and the other half is like the pool area with the patio. So yeah, I mean, it turns out really nice. I was super happy with it in the end. And I did include a kids monkey bar set. I almost just didn't do that. I figured the two kids that do live here, they're not super active kids. One loves to work on the mental table, the other one loves to work on the creativity table. And they actually are twins, but I'll get into them a little bit later when I go through The Sims background and a little bit of their storyline. I don't have a super long one for today, but there's a little bit of a one. You guys know me. I always include it in my builds. It just is what it is. I build with the storyline in my mind, and so yeah, I like to share it with you guys. So yeah, like I was saying, I almost did not include the monkey bars, but I had a little bit of extra space in this area next to the garden path stones that literally was the perfect place to put one, so I ended up putting one anyways. I mean, even if the kids are not super into like playing on the playground or the monkey bars, it's always nice to have one just in case it's needed anyways for whatever reason they might need to level up their motor skill. So I guess now is as good of a time as any to go ahead and get into the background story for the Sims. So it is a husband and wife that lives here, two parents, and they have 3 children. 2 of them are actually children, like children age, and they are twins, and then they have another child that is an infant. Both of these parents share the passion of gardening. They both love working in the garden together and maintaining it together and hanging out in the garden together too with their children. And it's almost perfect. Like, the kids can swim in the pool while the parents are over there working in the garden, and it's like the best of both worlds. The kids can have fun and then the parents are having fun too. Gardening is fun for them. They love to garden. They actually received this house as like a part of an inheritance from the mother's parents. This was the childhood home that the mom actually grew up in. And unfortunately, her parents both passed away like relatively close to one another. And so when they both passed away, they gave this house to their one and only child, which was the mom that's living here now. And of course, they were super, it's like bittersweet. She lost her parents. That's sad. But at the same time, she gained her childhood home that she absolutely loved growing up in, and she has a lot of really fond memories of working in her parents' garden with both of her parents. They were both like super into gardening as well. That is why there's like plants and bushes and flowers absolutely everywhere in this build. At least on the outside of this build, there's plants absolutely everywhere. There's some plants on the inside too. I didn't overfill the inside with plants, and I'm not gonna lie, I did actually miss the Enchanted by Nature expansion pack as I was building this, because I was like, oh my gosh, this would be perfect to include those live house plants in. But yeah, it was really important to me to do this as like a limited pack, one pack build, and so I said, you know what, there'll be future opportunities where I can do that too. But this would literally be the perfect house to include those live house plants, since it's a gardener's dream home. Of course, the inside is going to be filled with plants too, and I put as many as I could, but I also didn't want it to look a little too taggy. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So the majority of the plants are outside. So yeah, she has a lot of great memories growing up as a kid, working out here in the backyard with her parents. Her parents pretty much built it to what it looks like now, and when her and her husband moved in, they're pretty much just maintaining it at this point. And her husband, he never really gardened. Like, he never did it growing up. He never did it as a teenager or a young adult until he met her. And he really fell in love with it once he seen how beautiful and rewarding it really is to garden and produce plants and keep plants alive, and how beautiful a garden can be with a bunch of flowers everywhere. And that is actually how he fell in love with his wife. He's seen how passionate she was with plants, and he just fell head over heels in love with her back here in the backyard, watching her take care of all of these flowers and plants. And not only did they fall in love with each other in this backyard, they actually got married back here too. They figured it was the perfect place to get married at. And they had just a super small and intimate backyard wedding. Nothing too extravagant at all. They just moved those planter boxes that are by the greenhouse. They set up a little archway, put a little bit of chairs for their very close family members, and they got married and had a little bit of a party. Definitely nothing too extravagant at all, but it was perfect for them, and it turned out super, super beautiful. And then obviously they weren't living here yet, so it wasn't until just recently, like their children, all of them were here. She actually just had her youngest child when her parents passed away, and they were given this house. And so this house, living here, is very, very new for them, but they are super happy about it. But it's like bittersweet, like I was saying. She always remembers her parents everywhere in this house. So I don't know, like, that is good, but it can be kind of sad at the same time. But she loves this house so much, she will never ever sell it. And she is thinking about when she's older, you know, she has 3 kids, so that's going to be kind of hard to do, but they're going to give it to one of their children once they pass away, and that's going to be hard. You know, how do you go about choosing which child to give a house to? You know, if it was real life and everyone's trying to be fair, they would probably just sell it, but this is The Sims, and a lot of us Simmers, we like generational family gameplay, and so I will leave that up to you guys. If you download this house, you can choose which kid it goes to. I usually just choose the kid that has the best skills, to be totally honest, and the one that I favored the most throughout the gameplay when they were kids. There's always one Sim that I like the best. Am I the only one? Am I the only one that like picks and chooses which Sims I like the best and which ones I don't like? That just tends to happen for me for some reason. But yeah, I will leave that choice up to you guys. But that is the parents' idea anyways, is to keep this as like a generational, almost like a family heirloom house, which I think is a super, super cute thing. As far as the careers for both of these parents, I actually figured that they do a gardening business and they sell their flowers or fruits or veggies, whatever they're growing, they sell that for money. And they also have a certain thing called a money tree and they grow money on trees. So that is pretty much how they make money. I wish there was such thing as a money tree in real life. Like, that sounds like a dream. So honestly, it kind of makes sense that I have that at a gardener's dream home. You know, that's literally part of a dream home in my opinion, is a money tree. Who would not want that? And then as far as the kids, so the infant is obviously too young to do anything in the garden. He really honestly just sits there and plays with his blocks. But the kids, they love to hang out in the garden with their parents too, or swim like I was saying earlier, but they really enjoy learning how to garden from their parents. It's almost like loving to garden runs in the family for this particular family. Like, it runs in their blood. They're all gardeners at the end of the day. So I can totally see the infant, once they grow up to be a child, helping their parents in the garden as well, just like their older siblings. So I am working on the mudroom now, and I'm using the brand new items from the Grange Mudroom kit. And like I was saying in the beginning of the speed build, I love this kit. I think it is so cute, and one of my favorite pieces that I can see myself using all the time is that shelf with the pictures on it that I just pulled out and I put it in the dining room. How stinking cute is that piece? I think that is so pretty, and I can see myself using it literally all the time. I also love this bench here that I just pulled out with the pillows. Oh my gosh, that is so cute. I literally was just talking about wanting to have more couches with pillows on it like this. I do want them to have the pillows separately, but it is what it is. I didn't really expect them to put, like, you know, make a bench with pillows on it. And I shouldn't say they didn't make it. It was a creator, like a simmer, that made it. But you guys know what I mean. That is literally the cutest thing. I didn't even think I would fall in love with a bench as much as I did, but that bench is literally so cute. And I love how there's like slots underneath each of the sections, like on the left side, the middle, and the right side. That is so cute. And then also that little basket with the rag or towel or whatever that is on the side. I love pieces of clutter like that. That's not the first time we've received something like that. We received something from Eco Lifestyle that had like pillows and blankets in it, and something from Cottage Living too. But this one looked like a little tiny laundry basket, and I think that is so adorable. A lot of these new items would actually work really, really well in like a laundry room too, and not just a mudroom. And throughout the whole house, to be honest, these are such versatile items, and I love that. A lot of the kits and items and packs, but really mainly the kits, are like limited, and you can only really use it in like a mudroom or the Greenhouse Haven kit, or like whatever the theme is. It's hard to use throughout a normal house. Does that make sense? But these items you can use like in any room. I actually used one of the closets in the infant's room as like a closet because it was in the dresser category. So I love the fact that you can use these items like everywhere in a house and not in just a regular mudroom. Like, for instance, I did use one of the tables right here with the mirror above it. That mirror and that table are both from this mudroom kit, and I think it looks cute right here. So that is the perfect example of how you can use these items anywhere in a house. And we are actually in the kitchen, and I am putting out some decorations, and this kitchen is pretty interesting. I don't normally put it right when you walk through the front door, but I thought it was super cute in this build. And with the hall table right there, does that not match perfectly with the kitchen? I think it does. I think it looks great with it. And of course this wallpaper is from the mudroom kit too, and I really like it. I don't know, it's weird. It's not usually my vibe. I don't normally like the wallpapers that have the wood all the way up, like half of it, more than half of it in this case. Plus it has the crown molding. But it works really well in this house, and I love that green color. I absolutely love a soft, like sage green. I think it is so pretty and perfect for this house and this house's theme as far as like a gardener's dream house goes. Like, I tried to stick with what I think a gardener would like as far as their interior design of their house goes. Plus, with this being the wife's parents' house, technically the grandparents' house, they're like older, so I can see this house having like an older theme to it as far as like the wallpaper and stuff goes, and so it's kind of perfect with the storyline that I made. I don't see myself using the wallpaper that often unless I'm doing like a Victorian style house or an older person's house. It would be perfect for those two things, but as far as like a regular suburban, it's not really suburban-esque, if that makes sense. It definitely looks more like Victorian or just like an elderly person's house, you know? It's cute regardless. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think it's super cute, and they still have like a version that doesn't have such a large wood trim at the bottom, but that still looks older too. It really reminds me of Victorian style, which is cute, but there's a time and place for it. I think it's the actual wallpaper part that has like those leaves or like that design. I don't really know what that design's called, to be honest, but it looks like a flower, to be honest, which, you know, that's another thing that's kind of perfect for this house. But that is what makes it feel so Victorianish or like older style. We are now over into the living room, and at first I almost put those more expensive, older looking couches, and now that I'm thinking about it and I'm looking back, I feel like they almost looked perfect in here, but there was something about them at the time of me building that I didn't like. I don't know if it's because it didn't look, you know, suburban-y, or I just don't like that couch, because I kind of don't like those couches, to be honest. I don't like any of the base game couches, not even the ones I use here, and I use these all the time, but they're the best ones in the base game, in my opinion, and so it's kind of, you know, what I have to choose from. But yeah, I really don't like any of the base game couches, so I really wish they would do like an update to the base game and add more couches, like at least one more couch set, not just one couch, but the set. Maybe one day I'll get my wish, but since there is an infant in this house and there was this blank wall over here that was driving me crazy, and I was trying to think of what to put there, it's kind of like a transition from the dining room to the living room. I didn't really know what to put there, and there was an infant in this house who had their crib upstairs, so something that I like to do in my family homes if there is an infant is put a crib, like the playpen looking crib, in the living room. I think that is such a cute touch, and I do it all the time. It honestly just makes it so helpful to have a playpen both upstairs and downstairs, so your sim doesn't have to take literally all day to go from one side of the house to the other. Like, the infant can just hang out in the living room if the parents are down here, and they can play with their little toy blocks, and when it's time for nap time, there's a little playpen crib right there. Then right above the crib or the playpen, that is where I put that shelf piece from the new kit with the pictures on it that I absolutely love, that I was telling you guys about earlier. And I love that shelf with those pictures on it. I can't wait to use it more often. I'm going to be overusing it probably, so just a little heads up, guys. I will probably overuse it, but don't hate me for it. It's cute, and I'm sure you guys probably feel the same way. So this bathroom down here that I just furnished is the main bathroom. Obviously, that's where the guests are going to go when they come over, but that is also where the kids take their showers or baths, and that's where they bathe the infant, and that is pretty much the only bathroom that they share. We do have an additional bathroom, but that is in the master bedroom, so I figured that was just for the parents, and there's no other additional bathroom upstairs. I could have done, and I almost did, an additional bathroom upstairs, but I decided to make that into the infant's room instead. So I put a little bit of a transition here for a couple of different reasons. The main reason being is the fact that I did do the terrain paint and I cut that whole thing out because I am going to do it a second time at the end of this build, because at some point during this build I ended up pausing, I saved, I exited, had to do something in real life, came back to it, and that dang terrain paint bug it got me, guys, and it deleted all of my terrain paint and I had to redo it. So I figured instead of making you guys having to watch it twice, why not just cut that part out the first time and you can watch it the second time. I mean, watching terrain paint is like watching paint dry in my opinion anyways. I feel like it's probably the least interesting part of the build, especially the way that I do terrain paint. It's pretty much just like the, you know, the dying grass that's like half mud, half like grass. That layer first, and then I go back and I do just straight like dirt or like gardening soil or whatever, just straight dirt over it, so it's kind of like blending into each other. But that is what I do almost in every single build, so I figured, you know, I'm not gonna make you guys watch that twice. One time is torture enough. Which leads me to ask you guys this: have you experienced this terrain paint bug yourself? Or am I like one of the only ones? Because I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but it happens to me on multiple occasions, and I feel like it always happens in Willow Creek. I'm trying to think if it happens anywhere else, and it's like literally mainly Willow Creek, which is weird. I wonder if there's something about this particular neighborhood that is a little bit bugged out, which wouldn't be surprising, sadly. So let me know down in the comments below if you guys have experienced that bug before, if it's something you experience all the time like I do, or if you're one of the lucky ones and it's never happened to you, because I, for one, am not lucky apparently, because it happens all the time. So I really need to, you would think I would learn my lesson at this point and not do the terrain paint until the very last thing. Yeah, take note, which that's me telling myself to take note. Not do the terrain paint halfway through the build if you know you're about to exit the game, you know? So I guess I'm my own worst enemy at the end of the day. I should know better. But we have finished the furnishings downstairs and we have moved upstairs, and I am working on the master bedroom. And it's a typical master bedroom of mine. I didn't really include any skill building items in there. I just put a TV and a bed and like a chair. I made it look cute, and then that is that. Nothing special about it. I did use a bed that I don't normally use. I like the way that that bed is designed, like as far as the bed frame and stuff goes, but the bed spread, like the comforter on it, I don't love. I don't really like that like triangular design. It looks kind of, I don't know, there's something about it I don't like. So I don't use it often, but you know what? Base game gets tiring to use after a while because you use the same items over and over again that you like. And so I figured, why not try to use something I don't like and see how it works. But it does work pretty well in this build, I do have to say. I am working on the twins' rooms now, and they do have their own room, but they are very, very similar, and I did that purposely. I wanted it to be like almost obvious that these are twins, and they really love pink, but it differs slightly from one to the other, and I think that's a really, really cute idea. They have like basically the same things, but in different swatches, and I kind of like that. This really, honestly, these rooms turned out really cute. The only thing that really is different is that one has the creativity table in their room and the other one has the mental table, because it kind of goes with their particular skill that they like. And I did want to put the mental table in this one's room. This one just looks like it would be like really, you know, interested in developing their mental skill, because of the light color kind of gives me that, but it didn't fit in that room as well as it fit in this room, and so I decided to put the mental table in here, and then the other one got the creativity table. But the beautiful part about The Sims is that these kids, you know, they don't care if they're in each other's rooms, and so they could share each other's like skill building items, and one can work on the creativity table while the other one works on the mental table, and vice versa, kind of share it like that, you know. And we are now working on the infant's room, and you guys probably noticed that I use the same wallpaper in every bedroom, but I changed the swatch on there. I don't know why I felt like I had to say that, but I did. I know that the infants cannot use the toddler toilets yet, but I went ahead and I thought ahead, guys, and I went ahead and put the potties in each bathroom just to prepare for when the infant inevitably grows up to be a toddler. And it usually happens pretty quick anyway, so I figured why not. So I did include one of the new dressers from the new kids, and it fit perfectly in that little corner right there. I don't normally like to make a room shaped like this, but I really wanted to add that extra room so that each of the twins had their own room and the infant could have their own room. I don't love the shape, but you know, sometimes you have to have a weird shape in houses. It is what it is. And in this case, that room is a very, very weird shape, but it didn't make it as bad once I placed the dresser there. And that is pretty much it for the infant's room. I did put a toy box in there with some blocks. I did the same thing downstairs. So they have the same toy box in the living room and in their bedroom, but it just depends. If they're in their room, they can play, and if they're in the living room, they can play. They have the best of both worlds. We are now working in the hallway, and I was indecisive on how I wanted to place the computer table. I knew I wanted to put a computer table in here though, because there's literally nowhere else in the build to put it. And the best way I could design it was to put it in the middle of the floor like this. I don't know how realistic that is. But I thought it looked pretty good like that, and it really filled up the space pretty nicely, so I ended up keeping it that way. When I placed it up against the wall right under that window, it left such a huge space still, so that's ultimately why I decided to keep it in the middle of the floor like this. And then I put a chess table on the balcony outside. Almost did a telescope, but I figured there's really nobody in this house that likes to look through the telescope. They don't really, care about the solar system or anything like that. They like gardening, and that's pretty much it. But a chess table is always useful for your Sims builds to raise your logic skill, or the kids could raise their mental skills, so I figured why not add a chess table out there. It's better to add something that you can build some sort of skill with, other than just adding another bench like I did downstairs. But that is it as far as the furnishings go on the inside of the build, and we are now working on the terrain paint for, yes, the second time, which is always so fun. It's really honestly super annoying, but I do think the terrain paint came out better the second time anyway, so maybe it's a blessing in disguise. So I took the time to really paint like a lot of the darker dirt around each of these garden stones, because it gives it such a good dimensional look and it makes it look a lot more realistic. It looks so much better with the dirt surrounding these garden path stones, so it definitely was worth it to do that, other than putting it just straight on the ground. Putting it straight on the ground just makes it look a little bit out of place, and this makes it blend in a lot better. So once I am done with the terrain paint, I do go ahead and furnish the inside of the greenhouse, and I put a few more planter boxes in there, as many as I could fit anyways, and then I did some of the smaller like pots as well. I also put like a table in there. Obviously your sim cannot use the table, we don't have the flower arranging table in the base game like we do in Seasons, but I had that sort of thing in mind as far as like the table, what it's used for goes, and I put some shelves above it with some flowers on it, and I thought it made it look super cute and a little bit more functional than just for show. But at the end of the day, it really is just for show. Unless you have Seasons, then you could replace this table with the actual flower arranging table itself. But I wanted to put something in here other than just the flower boxes, so I decided to do this. And then I put some more of these mud boots in here because how cute are they? And then I put a chair next to it, so I figured that whoever comes in here, if they need to change their shoes, put these boots on, they could sit in that chair and do that. And on top of the table, I'm just placing some decorations and some like seeds, and then I placed some like special fertilizer bags underneath the table. I thought it was cute. It was a cute touch. And I placed a cowplant berry there too, because how fun would that be for you guys that download this to go ahead and plant a cowplant somewhere in this build. But we have actually reached the end of today's build. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you are loving this new kit as much as I am. If you did enjoy this video, then please leave a like. It helps the algorithm push it out to other simmers, and also subscribe if you have not already. I appreciate each and every one of you guys so much, more than you would ever know. I hope you have an amazing day or night wherever you are, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys!